Online fraud risks continue to grow. A new report from AARP. Welcome back to Techstination. I'm Fred Fishkin. Joining us from AARP is Director of Fraud Prevention Programs, Kathy Stokes. Hi, Kathy.
Hey, Fred, it's good to talk to you again.
Great to see you. And you have an overview for us, I think, to start with, a snapshot of what's going on today when it comes to fraud. This is in your new report.
Yes, the new report is telling us what probably some of us, most of us are feeling, that fraud continues to grow exponentially. So many more people are experiencing fraud loss, whether it's monetary or stolen information that is used in identity fraud. We used to see maybe 15% or so of people would say that they'd experience that. We're up to 41% now.
And what forms are these new approaches taking?
You know, by and large, it's online, although the phone, home phone, is still a vector. But a lot of this is, being on social media and thinking it's, innocent enough to interact with quizzes. But what you're really doing in some cases is sharing information that a criminal can use to create a scam that you'll believe, or they could be phishing for information that might help them to break your passwords and steal accounts.
Interesting. I know from personal experience, I get text messages saying that I owe this or that, and to respond, or easy pass, whatever it happens to be. And I don't recognize where it's coming from. And I guess that's one of the keys here that people should look out for.
It absolutely is. And it's just a point now that we cannot trust incoming text messages, emails, phone calls, unless we're absolutely sure who they are. We need to just avoid interacting. If you get a phone call and you don't recognize the number, just let your answering machine or voicemail or whatever do the work for you. If it's a text message and it looks like it's from your bank, don't trust that it is. Go offline to call your bank using the number on your account statement, or if you have online access, go on there, see if they're trying to reach you. And chances are pretty high they're not actually trying to reach you.
Sometimes it appears that it's coming from a friend or a relative, right? But if you look closely at the email or message, you find out that it really isn't.
Criminals are good at taking over all sorts of accounts. It can be social media accounts, it can be email accounts, and then they use those accounts pretending to be the original owner and, spreading out as many communications to that person's contacts to say, I'm in trouble, I need your help, can you send me $500? And you think it's that person, but in fact, somebody has overtaken their accounts.
How serious is this problem today? All of us are experiencing it to one degree or another, but how many are really getting taken advantage of or falling for it?
Well, if you look at what we do know about fraud losses in this country, the Federal Trade Commission would say in 2023 that fraud losses stood at, an eye-popping $10 billion. But then 10 months later, they said, well, based on what we know under reporting to be, it wasn't 10 billion. It was probably more like $158 billion in 1 year, leaving our economy and going largely to transnational crime gangs.
Wow. Tell us about the new National Elder Fraud Coordination Center.
Well, I'm glad you asked. This is really a first of its kind opportunity for the private sector, corporations that have great financial investigative teams, to be able to take the data that they're seeing, fraud intelligence, and combine it with what elder fraud cases have been reported, looking at it through an organized crime lens, to be able to tie the cases together to build these investigative packages for federal authorities to go pick these guys up, prosecute them, put them in prison, make it more difficult for the overseas criminals to find people in the United States who will aid and abet their crimes.
Really, really a great thing to be focused on. So what steps should we all keep in mind today to protect ourselves? What are some of the basics, and maybe not so obvious ones?
Yeah, and I think, I have a favorite five. There's probably 30 things we could all be doing, but that's just a little too much. In the password space, we really have to move away from trying to manage this all by ourselves and get into using password managers. Just do a little research online and see what might work for you. Let that tool do the hard work of remembering complicated passwords. Multi-factor authentication, when you have the opportunity to add another step to make sure that it's you accessing your account, do it. I know it might take a few seconds longer, but think about it as a protective act to protect your finances, to protect your accounts. We should have to accept a little bit more friction in our lives for that. And I would also say, you have your updates that you get posted on your phone, for example, and it says, update ready, and you just keep putting it off. Well, don't put it off. And in fact, set it up so it's automatic, because quite often those patches are to address known vulnerabilities. So you really want to have your operating systems up as much as possible. And then just, we can't trust the links. Don't click on links from email, from text, online. Go to the source to make sure who's trying to contact you really is, and we'll all be a little better off for it.
Are biometrics much help with our mobile devices or computers?
Yeah, I mean, it's a start. The biometrics currently aren't sort of standalone. It's associated with your password. It's easier, though, if you can use a biometric to not have to type in your password. But we're going to get to a point where biometrics are separated from passwords. Passwords go out the window, and we use some sort of biometric to access our accounts. And I think that's the wave of the future, and really what we need to be doing at this point.
We've reported on all kinds of things that are really interesting and potentially great with AI, but is it being used by the bad guys to a great extent too?
It really is. I refer to this new artificial intelligence as the sort of the industrial revolution for fraud criminals. It just gives them so much more to work with, to scale, to make their attacks look almost perfect, maybe even perfect. So you can't tell that a person that you may be having a video conference with isn't really a person at all. There's just a lot that they can do to get past barriers, to get emails through systems that they don't get caught, by your spam filters. It's all out there, but the information is the same. We have the protections that we should be using. We need to be talking about fraud sort of as a regular point of conversation. The more we're talking about it, the less stigma is involved if it does happen, the more support we can get, and the better protected we are.
Where can we go to learn more?
Yeah, head over to aarp.org/fraud watch network.
Just terrific. Congratulations on the work that you're doing. So important. Kathy
Thank you.
Stokes, thanks for spending time with us.
I appreciate it. Have a great day.